So I mentioned that we might have cooled down the hottest bettor on the planet. This is, I think, a really fascinating story. And I think there's a lot of ripple effects to a story like this because, one, it's fun. And it involves, I think, Kelly, you put it really well when we were talking about it off the air, arguably the most popular basketball player on the face of the planet. And no, it's not Steph Curry or LeBron James. It's Charles Barkley. So Charles Barkley and the TNT crew have a promotion that they do. They are sponsored by FanDuel. And so he will have I think they call it like Chuck versus America. Okay, and I don't know who he's versing because I haven't seen anybody go against it. You don't really want to go against the same game parlay with a plus 5 to 1 odds or whatever. Plus 5 to 1. Sorry, I know Kay Adams got in trouble for mislabeling stuff. It's a slip of the tongue. Plus 500. So anyway, this is Charles Barkley's same game parlay from last night, and we will tell you why we're talking about this momentarily. So Jaylen Brown, 25 more points, hits that, but 3 of the 4 legs loses. So you'll see there, the odds for Chuck's same-game parlay yesterday were plus 493. Now, why are we talking about this? Because we want to attract your eyes to the bottom of the screen. Chuck's overall record with these same-game parlays, 14-20. He's on a 5-game losing streak. So let's do a little math. It's a numbers game, right?
Yep. Do a little math.
What's 20 minus 5? It's 15. So at one point, Charles Barkley, with these same-game parlays, was 14-15. Now, this is the fascinating part about it, right? You and I have both been watching this.
Yes.
Every time I've seen one of these parlays, it has been no shorter than about like 4 to 1 in terms of the odds.
Me either. I haven't seen one shorter than that either.
And there were questions about, okay, well, maybe they're not grading the record properly. Well, no, because he's on a 5-game losing streak. They've had 5 broadcasts. He's lost 5 straight same-game parlays. That has just accounted for 1 loss to his record. So if they're grading these properly, which it seems like they are, Charles Barkley at one point was 14-15 on same-game parlays with the odds at about, we'll say conservatively, at 4 to 1. That is bleeping ridiculous. And it has not been a topic at all. And it was one of those things where you and I both, I kind of showed you a picture. I was like, did you realize that Charles Barkley's kind of like maybe slowly killing it with some of these same-game parlays? So just that alone, the fact that this hasn't caught on, I think, is absolutely incredible.
This has been a Hardwood Handicappers deep dive investigation. Yes, you brought this up to me one day, 2 months ago at this point?
You know what this is good for? Our friends over at Meadowlark, we had Tom Hammerstroh on the other day, their basketball Illuminati thing. This is it. Dive into it. Give me some of the old parlays. This is insane that he was operating at this clip.
It really is. I mean, you brought this up to me probably 2 months ago, and my instant reaction was, oh my God, you've noticed this too? Because I've only... during the regular season, it's, okay, maybe I didn't catch every single one of them, but I caught a lot of them, right? So you're through the season, I'm trying to figure out, okay, is this grading? Are they grading this properly for a sports bettor, or are they maybe grading legs or something?
Yeah, there was some thought that
there
were some people on Twitter who thought, hey, maybe they're just grading each leg one by one. So like in this example, if he went 1-3 on the same game parlay, they put 1-3 on his record. But clearly that's not the case.
Yeah, so going back about 2 months, me and you have actually been tracking these pretty much every time they do them now. Because it was 14, if he was 14-15, he's lost 5 in a row. But yeah, use 4 to 1 as base math. You're still talking, this guy is conservatively, JVT, up 40 units on the NBA season.
And I know because we like to get angry, right? So this is not a call to start tailing Charles Barkley on his part.
Not at all.
No. It's a fascinating thing for multiple perspectives. One, that Charles Barkley, I think he's considered a lovable loser, right?
Right.
People like to laugh whenever he makes one of his guarantees, and the joke is, all right, go the opposite way. That hasn't been the case for these same-game parlays, and I think Gil says this all the time, right? It's sports bettors were too close to the sun.
Yes.
So, for us, I'm looking at this and going, why aren't you talking about this? And you pointed out, Shaq and Kenny, and they're giving him crap for the record.
Yeah, they'll rip on him for the record. Yeah, they'll rip on him for the record sometimes. They're like, hey, at 4 to 1, are you kidding me? I would kill to have this kind of record.
So I think it's fascinating too, because not only is it a guy who's red hot on something that's completely unsustainable, but it also speaks to, as sports gambling becomes more and more mainstream, and you see it more and more in the mainstream, but you still have this disconnect of the mainstream not really knowing how to handle stories like this. Every single day, NBA on TNT should be Chuckster's up nearly 6,000, whatever it is, right? They should be all over this, but instead there's a sense of maybe not knowing how to properly equate this because they just see a losing record and not realize that he's up. But you know what the surprising thing to me is, and I think that you and I have discussed this, Barkley's a gambler. Wouldn't you? I would think that maybe he understands that even though the record was under 500 by just a single game, that he was like lighting the
big
world.
for the year.
He was lighting the money, like lighting the world on fire.
The other thing that's blowing me away about this, like what you and I were trying to dig into this more, like there's a Twitter account for everything on this planet, right? Like there's a Greg Peterson Twitter tracker out there, for Christ's sake. Like there's somehow not a Charles Barkley like tracking account or something.
Right.
That's where we've reached out to inside the NBA people.
I've tried to journalism. It's not working. Nobody's getting back to me.
We've tried to journalism this thing. This is the best we can come up with, is that what we are seeing on a night-to-night basis is completely accurate with this record. And how is this not a bigger deal?
It's incredible. So, and then I mentioned too.
Go get him, Chuck.
Right, go get him. Well, but that's why I teased too. We might have cooled him down because since we've really started to bring this topic up, he's absolutely lost it, and it does speak to like the nature of just these same game parlays and how tough this is. Really, to play these consistently. It's why they want you to. It's why they're promoted. But I thought this was one of the better sports betting stories out there. The fact that Charles Barkley had been absolutely destroying same game parlays for a minute and nobody really wanted to talk about it. So kudos to Charles Barkley. Hopefully he picks this back up, and hopefully TNT kind of catches on and is like, hey, maybe we should start like talking about how good he is at this thing, because the bit I get, but
what they're missing is that you need to include the units won or so, with that record, right? And I'll give props to ESPN. They do a what is it, like the midday sports center? They do like a home run prop, like where they pick everybody picks someone to hit a home run that day.
Okay.
And they track the units won.
Yeah.
So they're doing a good job with that, but it's like you said, the mainstream media still learning how to do all this stuff. That's the part that's really missing.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.